So just before this video gets started, I do want to take a moment to shout out the Discord server. Join if you want to, suggest new video ideas, or just come hang out and chat with us. And if you like what you see here today, you'll like pretty much everything else on my channel, so why not subscribe? Thanks. Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we got another update to the Johnny Somali situation that's been happening over in Korea. Now the last time we talked about this situation, it was a couple of days ago, and we left off by saying, his trial was going to be very soon. And I don't know what I really expected from a trial like this, but at the very least, you'd think that the guy would show up on time, because this is something that could affect the next decade of his life. And to be completely honest with you, the stuff that actually went down was so much worse. I think the only thing that would have probably made the whole thing even worse for himself is if he would have gotten up from his seat and tried to attack the judge himself. On March 7th, 2025, Johnny Somali, real name Ramzi Khalid Ismail, showed up to court an hour late wearing an oversized suit and a MAGA hat, which he was asked to remove multiple times. According to the YouTube lawyer Legal Mindset, Somali, who has been staying with his streamer roommate Hank Yu, pled guilty to obstructing business and 2 counts of violating the Minor Crimes Act. And here's a little bit of a summary from Legal Mindset himself.
So we just wrapped up with the first day of trial for the Ramzi Khalid Ismail case, that is Johnny Somali. And what happened was he was over an hour late to his trial. It was packed, completely full courtroom. Almost everybody was there for him. And he came in with Hank. He was dressed in a white suit. Hank was in a black suit, very, ebony and ivory sort of thing they had going on there. He immediately looked at me directly, stuck his tongue out. He was wearing a MAGA hat. He was instructed twice to take it off. And bungled that absolutely hilariously multiple times. He proceeded to go to the stand in the wrong place and head forward. The key is to all of this that he was completely blindsided by both the procedure and the charges. I will get into that on a later video, but he pled guilty to all 3 of the original charges, that is the first obstruction and the 2 Minor Crimes Act violations. But the last obstruction, the new one that just came out this week, they had no idea about. His lawyer didn't know, he didn't know. So they have to schedule a whole new trial date 3 weeks from now just for him to plead guilty. And that won't be the end of the story for Ramzi. So I'll catch you guys all up.
Now, mind you, I'm reading all this stuff as I'm at work, and I'm genuinely just shocked at what's happening. So much so to the point where the people who I'm working with are asking me, what the hell is even going on? So if you do or do not remember, or if you haven't been following this whole situation, basically what's been happening over in South Korea or in places like Japan, these IRL kick streamers such as Johnny Somali have been going over to places where they think the law or the people are pretty lax and pretty chill, and where they could just kind of do whatever and disrespect different monuments to historical events, or disrespect the locals by cursing them out, just generally being nuisance streamers. Now, like I said before, Johnny Somali is one of these people, and he has been getting some heat, a lot of heat actually, over the past couple of months for specifically this reason. And previously, I went over the video that he last released, and it was literally him threatening the Japanese public. Now, obviously, I already thought that that was dumb in and of itself, not just because, like, okay, if you get out of this situation in Korea, the Japanese people are going to know that you're coming to Japan and you're looking to start some trouble, you might get yourself beat up this time, especially because considering the last time we were talking about this situation, I also brought up the fact that a lot of other streamers were also getting beat up, and the people of Japan were even handing out most wanted pictures of these streamers around their communities. And of course, I was coming to the conclusion that these guys keep going over there to Japan and to South Korea and to places where they know that the gun laws aren't the same as they are in America, where they know they won't get fucking Swiss cheese for doing any of this stuff. And they do this while neglecting the fact that some of these Asian countries that they're going to, like Korea, Japan, they are known for having very, very high conviction rates. I said the last video that we were talking about this, that Korea had somewhat of the lowest conviction rate out of China, Japan, and Korea at what, like 80%? Yeah, no, I was wrong about that. It's 99, dude. Like, it's cooked for him, and especially considering that he pled guilty to most of the charges that were brought up against him. Also, not to mention the fact that this guy's not doing any favors for himself in the courtroom, okay? And the weird thing is, Johnny even apologized for this, like, publicly. He did it in Korean and in English with a translator and everything. He said sorry for disrespecting the statues of the women that went through sexual slavery during World War II. He said he's sorry for disrespecting the culture and the people, for causing such a commotion coming here, And I feel like anybody who ever saw that video just knew by the tone of his voice, or even not just the tone of his voice, just by who he is and what we've been seeing from him for the past couple of months, he did not mean that at all. And I feel like his court appearance really just made that clear. And if it was apparent to me, it was more than apparent to the people who were actually in that room. This article then goes on to say his broadcast had given police a lot to work with and had hammered him with an assortment of charges. The first obstruction of business charge was in relation to the chaos he caused in 7-Eleven. His 2 minor crimes act charges are for allegedly harassing people with a dead fish and putting it in their faces, while the other ones were for an indecent twerking dance on a subway. Obstruction of business can carry a maximum penalty of 5 years in jail, so it's possible that Ismail ends up being sentenced to 10 years behind bars, depending on how the trial plays out. In addition to the current charges against Somali, the controversial broadcasts have featured a ton of other incidents that could result in even more charges being filed down the line. Thus far, he's been accused of violating anti-terrorism laws, threatening to essay female streamers, drug use, creating AI deepfakes of other creators, violating the Railroad Act, and even spreading North Korean propaganda. And before this, he was also kicked out of Japan, even lying to the Japanese courts, saying that he didn't make money off of broadcasting. Now, with him showing up to court being hung over, apparently the night before his trial he just got messed up, so much to the point where he was vomiting, and I could assume that that's the reason why he was an hour late. However, once again, this is just not stuff that you should be doing if you're trying to avoid 10 years, potentially 10 years, in a foreign country's prison. And one of my favorite parts is reading some of the comments, and here's one that stood out to me. This guy asked Grok, which is the new Twitter AI, as to whether or not President Trump will save Johnny Somali, or if he even can. Grok says that as of March 2025, Donald Trump is now in his second term as US president, faces legal challenges that test presidential power limits, but he has no direct authority over the South Korean legal proceedings involving Johnny Somali. South Korea's judicial system operates independently, and Somali's charges stem from local laws, as well as public backlash over his offensive behavior as a nuisance influencer. And as if President Trump would even bother trying to get Johnny Somali back from the clutches of South Korea. That sounded a little bit dramatic, but there is absolutely no reason for him to actually do that. I and certain basketball fans might remember from some years ago a certain situation with one LiAngelo Ball and him stealing from the Louis Vuitton store with a couple of teammates from UCLA. I believe they were in China at the time, and China has like a really high conviction rate, definitely high 90s. And it still baffles me as to how Trump was even able to pull this off in the first place, but he was able to get LiAngelo Ball back and actually saved him from serving jail time in China. But even before LiAngelo Ball released Tweaker, or before he even touched a summer league jersey, he had way more clout in college or even in high school than Johnny Somali ever would. I mean, compared to Johnny Somali, what LiAngelo Ball did makes him look like a saint. That whole situation was just honestly bizarre, and it would be pretty funny if Trump did try to get involved, but I don't really see that happening. And finally, in my opinion, I do definitely feel like Johnny deserves these 10 years if they're coming to him, and maybe he could just, once he gets out, try to live a normal life, start fresh. Because if we're keeping it all the way, man, it's just like, you can tell he's doing all this stuff for attention and for money. He's said this before multiple times, as a matter of fact, on camera, and for some reason people just keep watching it. So I know that definitely 10 years is going to be a good enough break probably for what's been going on, and hopefully this can serve as an example or a lesson to those who might try to go over to other countries and become nuisance streamers. We all do know something for certain, though. It's not going to be the same for Johnny Somali. The streaming audience that he was broadcasting to right now, it's not going to be there when he comes back. Kick might not even be around. It might just crumble up and blow away. And if you really want to make it more dramatic, this is essentially a career death that we're witnessing before our very eyes. And it's one that I'm not sad to see go, as I'm sure you would agree. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's going to be it for me today. Hope you did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button. If you want more content similar to this, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Sub up, stay safe, and peace.